I don't remember ever even thinking to myself, my fantasy is the stage. It just was. I was so inspired by musical theater, like Guys and Dolls, the character, Adelaide. It was always hard for me, though, because I had such a powerful voice, but I would never get cast in those roles because I was a brunette. So eventually, I bought a wig.
What was it like waiting for that audition?
I knew that I had the best voice. It was just about the look. And I got that wig, and I just went for it. I just figured it out. And I watched the movie over and over again. I read the script over and over again. I remember when I did the audition, I didn't even use the call sheet.
When you got it, what did it feel like?
Oh, it was the greatest moment of high school. I tell you, I still dream about that. I still have these crazy dreams that I get cast for that role, and it's always the same role. Always Adelaide in Guys and Dolls. I remember I was in trouble because I think I was dating someone that my father really hated, or I was just being bad. I remember I was being bad, and my dad was like, "You're not doing the school play. You're not doing that play." And I just remember crying and saying, "Daddy, but I'm so good. Daddy, I'm the best. They gave me the lead." And he would look at me and he'd say, "You're so bad. You're bad."
Were you really that bad?
I was bad.
I want to take you back to being a kid. What made you want to learn music?
I don't know exactly where my affinity for music comes from, but it is the thing that comes easiest to me. When I was like 3 years old, I may have been even younger. My mom always tells this really embarrassing story of me propping myself up and playing the keys like this because I was too, short to get all the way up there, and I used to just go like this on the low end of the piano. I guess she just looked at my dad one day and said we should get her some piano lessons. I started taking from this woman who was amazing. She was so great. She was like a really great friend. I didn't know this at the time, but she was actually a stripper. I remember I used to say, "Why do you have such long nails? Don't you ever cut your nails?" And she used to say, "Someday you'll understand why I don't cut my nails." She had these long nails like I have now. Now I understand. When I would play, I would sometimes be very floppy with my hands because I was so theatrical. So I would get really into it and be really emotional while I was playing classical pieces. I had this one teacher that tied a string to my wrists, and I would play Hanon exercises. They're these really fast scales that go up and down the piano. And then she would put this Pink Panther action figure that we would balance the neck of the Pink Panther on the string, and I would have to play really evenly so that Pink Panther wouldn't fall off the string. I was really, really good at piano. So my first instincts were to work so hard at practicing piano, and I might not have been a natural dancer, but I am a natural musician. That is the thing that I believe that I'm the greatest at.
Tell me about that first CD. What was that first CD you bought?
It was Green Day Dookie with my own money. But my parents got me Stevie Wonder, Signed, Sealed, Delivered, and the Beatles. There were 2 CDs, and they were given to me with a boombox, a little boombox, for Christmas when I was young. They could have chose anything but Stevie Wonder and the Beatles. I mean, it's totally their fault. Don't spoon feed me the Beatles and Stevie Wonder and Bruce Springsteen and Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and Elton John and expect for me not to turn out this way. My dad saw me singing along to his records, and he would pick me up and throw me around the room and laugh and cry with me while I would sing Pink Floyd and Bruce Springsteen and Billy Joel records with him.
Were they your dad's records?
Oh yeah, all my dads. My dad was really into rock and roll. It was this special thing between my parents and I, going to see music together. My dad would take me to Arthur's Cafe to see, I think his name was Frankie. Frankie used to sing, "You Sexy," remember? And I would always feel really awkward because my dad was there. But that's really what shaped my love for music.
Could you rock out on that piano?
Well, I knew that music on the speakers, but the only music that I knew how to play was classical music. I only knew Beethoven and Mozart and Bach and Chopin and Rachmaninoff. That's all I knew. And then my father gave me for Christmas, it was a Bruce Springsteen songbook for the piano. And on it was Thunder Road, which is my favorite Bruce Springsteen song. And my dad said, if you learn how to play this song, we will take out a loan for our grand piano, a baby grand. It was the hardest thing for me. I was playing these huge pieces, like 15 pages long, and then there was this Bruce Springsteen song. I opened up the book and there was like guitar chords. I was so confused, I didn't understand it. So I just started to read it. And eventually I got it down.
The screen door slams, Mary's dress waves. Like a vision, she dances across the porch as the radio plays.
I knew what the song sounded like because my father had been playing it every day since I was a kid, and he would cry every time. He would always cry and he would say, "Baby, I just imagine when you're 18 and you leave me for another man." That's what he used to say. Because the lyrics in that song, "Screen door slams, Mary's dress sways," it's all about the road of life and leaving those behind you. Like a vision, she dances across the porch as the radio plays. It was just this beautiful thing with my dad. Bruce represents my youth, and he still is so much of my life now. Whenever I surge down a highway, I can't not think about Bruce Springsteen. It just doesn't happen. That's what's great about real legends. They own the whole interstate.
It's a town full of losers. I'm born out of here to win.
It's a town full of losers and we're pulling out of here to win. That lyric is like, who writes lyrics like that? It's a nightmare. And that's why I get so passionate about what I do, is because when I feel like I have finally written a lyric that is real like that, it's those artists that push me forward. I would spend hours listening to music in front of the mirror, in my mother's pearls, in her fake pearls. I didn't care what they were. I wasn't a little girl in that mirror. I was Whitney Houston in The Bodyguard. I was Gloria Estefan on stage. I was whoever I wanted to be. I got discovered singing in a store, in a little boutique where we grew up. there were these two guys that worked at the store. They loved fashion and music, and they loved talking about theater, and I became friends with them because I went into the store one day with my mom. I would go and hang out for hours after school. My mom would say, "Where the are you?" One day I started singing, and one of them said, "Do you have a very nice voice?" I said, "Thank you." He said, "My uncle is a voice teacher. I'll give you his phone number." So I said, "Okay." And I had a classical voice teacher at one point, but I'd never studied anything else. And he said he teaches pop rock vocals. I thought, oh, well, that could be really great because I love like musicals. So I called Don Lawrence, and he listed off all the people that he has worked with. And they included Mick Jagger, Bono, and Christina Aguilera. My heart sank. He was on speaker, and my mother was sitting next to me. I remember we were holding hands, and she just went like this. She started squeezing my hand. So I went in to meet Don, and I sang a song for him. There was an E flat in the song, like a really high, belty note, and I hit the note at the end, and I was really proud. And I didn't hit it very well. Little did I know that I hadn't hit it very well. But it wasn't until I started to work with him that my voice really started to grow and change. And he looked at me one day and he said, "You're a pianist." I said, "Yeah." He says, "I can tell." He said, "Because you know, the way you understand the scales when we're working, you just really understand what I'm doing." And he said, "You always can tell when I screw up." And he didn't screw up very often, but if there was ever a little sour note, I would. And to me, it was like, yeah, I know. But to him, it was, "You're a musician." And I was 13. He said to me, and these were the words that changed my life, Don Lawrence. He looked at me and he said, "Have you ever thought about writing music?" I said, "Well, when I was young, you know, I would notate strange things on my Mickey Mouse staff paper, and I've written poetry, but I've never really written a song." He said, "I think you should write a song. I think you would be good at writing songs." And I said, "Okay." Just a few weeks later, I was in the car with my dad and my mom. We were driving back from seeing my grandma, and I had my headphones on, and I was singing my pants off in the car. Probably not very well because I had the headphones on, you can't hear. My dad said, "Hey kid, you're not on stage yet." And I burst into tears, and I started screaming, and my mother was like, "What is going on with you?" And we drove to the front of my parents' place. My dad was driving the car back to the garage, you know, because it's New York, so you got to drive it to the garage 10 blocks away and then walk home. Pain in the ass. My dad was always gone for about 15 minutes. By the time he'd gotten home, I'd written my first song. It was called "To Love Again."
What's that song about?
The song is about being in love and then losing it with someone, and then saying we can find what made us fall in love in the first place. And in hindsight, I'm like, what the was I talking about? I was 13. What the hell did I know about love? But I think it was my innocence. You know, of course, my first song had to be some giant, dramatic power ballad.